Most people don't lose in life because they lack intelligence. They lose because their intelligence is undisciplined. They believe intelligence is about knowing facts, having opinions, or sounding impressive in conversation. But the real world doesn't reward that kind of intelligence. It rewards restraint, timing, silence, control. And very few people ever develop those traits. If you observe closely, a pattern becomes obvious. People explain themselves too much. They react instantly instead of thinking. They trust before trust is earned. They become emotional in moments where distance would protect them. They feel guilty when they shouldn't and confident when caution would serve them better. Then, when they are ignored, used, replaced, or quietly pushed aside, they blame luck, betrayal, or toxic people. But the truth is simpler and harsher. They lack dangerous intelligence. They don't understand how people test boundaries, read weakness, and exploit access. Then there's another type of person. You don't always notice them immediately. They don't rush to speak. They don't reveal their thinking easily. They don't react the way people expect. And because of that, something strange happens. Others hesitate around them. People explain themselves more. They probe less. These individuals don't dominate conversations, yet they control situations. They don't chase respect, but it follows them. They move slowly, but they move far. This isn't confidence. It isn't charisma. It's disciplined intelligence. A controlled, sharpened form of thinking that understands when not to speak, when not to explain, and when not to react. It understands that people observe more than they listen, and test more than they admit. It knows that once people can fully read you, you become predictable, and predictability is weakness. It understands that emotional attachment creates leverage, and leverage is always used. Machiavelli understood this long before psychology gave it names. He didn't write about how people should behave. He wrote about how they actually behave. He saw that those who survive and rise are not the loudest or the most emotional. They are the most self-controlled. They master themselves first, and because of that, they are difficult to control. Dangerous intelligence is not about manipulating others. It's about becoming immune to manipulation. It's about building a mind that cannot be rushed, guilt, or emotionally cornered. A mind that stays clear under pressure and recognizes traps before stepping into them. If you've ever felt underestimated, taken advantage of for being open, or only respected once you pulled back, this is why. You were playing honestly in a world that rewards strategy. In this video, I'm going to break down 7 ruthless laws that sharpen your intelligence and harden your thinking. These laws are uncomfortable. They don't flatter you. But they work. And once you see them, you won't be able to unsee them. Before we begin, leave this affirmation in the comments. My intelligence is controlled. Law 1. Never let people see your full position. The moment someone clearly understands where you stand, how you think, or what you want, you give them an advantage. Clarity may feel honest, but in real life, clarity often turns into exposure. And exposure creates leverage. Leverage is rarely used in your favor. Most people reveal themselves without realizing it. They explain their choices before anyone asks. They justify their boundaries. They clarify their silence to avoid discomfort. They believe that being understood will protect them. In reality, it does the opposite. Once your inner logic is visible, you become predictable. And once you are predictable, You become manageable. Dangerously intelligent people move differently. They don't rely on lies, deception, or performance. They rely on restraint. They say less than expected. They reveal only what is necessary. They leave gaps where others feel compelled to fill the silence. This isn't about playing games. It's about protecting position. Every unnecessary word gives someone information. Every explanation hands over context. And context is power. When people can't place you, something shifts. They hesitate. They overthink. They project assumptions that reveal more about them than about you. While they are guessing, you are observing. While they are reacting, you are calculating. Control transfers quietly, without confrontation. Machiavelli understood that deception doesn't always require lies. Often, it requires restraint. Not revealing is enough. Silence, when intentional, carries more power than persuasion. This law also shields you from emotional pressure. Guilt only works when hesitation is visible. Shame only works when attachment is exposed. Urgency only works when desire is obvious. When your internal state is unreadable, these tactics fail completely. People respect what they cannot easily access. They fear what they cannot predict. They approach carefully what does not respond on command. This is not dominance through aggression. It is authority through uncertainty. Calm, contained, and unsettling to those who rely on influence. Resisting the urge to explain will feel uncomfortable at first. Your instincts will push you to clarify, correct, and defend. That impulse is emotional reflex, not intelligence. Each time you override it, discipline strengthens. Each time you choose silence over justification, you retain ownership of your position. Over time, the effect compounds. People stop probing. They stop demanding explanations. They become cautious around you without knowing why. Not because you became intimidating, but because you became contained. This law doesn't make you cold. It makes you unreachable by manipulation. It doesn't make you dishonest. It makes you selective. You still speak when it matters. You still act when necessary. But nothing leaks out accidentally. Nothing is offered to earn approval. Dangerous intelligence begins here. Before strategy, before influence, before execution, there must be opacity. If others cannot see your full outline, they cannot strike accurately. End this law with this affirmation in the comments. I reveal nothing early. Law 2. Control what others perceive. Most people believe openness earns respect. They assume that being transparent, available, and emotionally visible makes them trustworthy. In reality, it often weakens their position. The more you reveal, the easier it becomes for others to predict you, pressure you, and quietly use what they learn against you. Dangerous intelligence understands a simple truth: discretion is strength. Information is not neutral. It is currency. Once spent, it cannot be recovered. Every detail you share, your motives, limits, fears, or plans, gives others material to calculate against you. Selective silence forces them into uncertainty, and uncertainty shifts control. This law is not about lying. It is about authorship. You are the keeper of your own narrative. You are not obligated to explain every decision, defend every move, or expose every calculation. You reveal in layers, intentionally and strategically, only when it serves your position. Watch how people behave around information. Those who overshare seek safety through validation. They explain to feel accepted. They justify to avoid discomfort. These people are easy to influence because they are easy to read. They are open books, and everyone around them is holding a pen. Now observe the opposite. The person who answers without excess. The one who leaves parts unsaid. The one who doesn't rush to clarify misunderstandings. That person commands attention without effort. Uncertainty makes others cautious. Caution creates respect. In practice, this law changes everything. In negotiation, you never reveal your limits too early. In alliances, you never display your full capability at once. In conflict, you don't expose your hand before timing favors you. Knowledge held back becomes leverage when released at the right moment. People may think they understand you, but assumptions are fragile. They carry risk. While others operate on what they think they know, you operate on what you actually know. You live in the space between perception and reality, and that space belongs to you. Affirm this law by writing in the comments. I control what they see. Speak when necessary. Reveal when useful. Leave silence where curiosity does the work for you. When you master this, you stop reacting to pressure and start shaping the field before anyone realizes the game has begun. Law 3, Pragmatic Empathy. Most people misunderstand empathy. They think it means being kind, agreeable, or emotionally involved. They believe empathy is about sharing feelings or validating perspectives. Dangerous intelligence uses empathy differently. It treats empathy as a tool for clarity, not compassion. A way to read people accurately without becoming entangled in their emotions. Pragmatic empathy is the ability to understand how others think, what drives them, and what they fear, without letting those forces control you. It is not softness. It is precision. When you understand someone's internal mechanics, you stop reacting blindly and start moving deliberately. Every person operates from invisible motivations shaped by insecurity, ambition, and experience. If you only engage from your own viewpoint, you miss the forces shaping their behavior. The intelligently ruthless observe patterns instead of words. They ask why instead of reacting to what is said on the surface. A sharp comment, a boast, a sudden withdrawal, passive aggression, none of it is random. These are signals. Each reveals a need, a vulnerability, or a pressure point. While emotional people get offended or defensive, the strategically intelligent gather information. Insight becomes leverage. Machiavelli understood that people judge by appearances but act from hidden impulses. Those who can read beneath the surface navigate social environments with control. They respond in ways that align with others' logic while protecting their own objectives. This creates influence without confrontation. In practice, this law changes how you handle resistance and conflict. When someone opposes your idea, you don't argue the surface objection. You identify the real driver, fear of loss, wounded pride, insecurity, or uncertainty, and address that instead. When negotiating, you frame outcomes around what motivates the other person, not what makes sense to you. When tension rises, you step back and map incentives instead of escalating emotionally. This does not make you manipulative in a shallow sense. It makes you efficient. You waste less energy fighting resistance and create outcomes with minimal friction. You understand without agreeing. You see without absorbing. That separation keeps you protected. Pragmatic empathy also neutralizes frustration. Instead of taking behavior personally, you view it structurally. You stop asking, "Why are they like this?" and start asking, "What is driving this?" Irritation turns into foresight. Conflict becomes information. Reinforce this law with this affirmation in the comments. I read before I react. When others lose control, you gain clarity. When emotions escalate, you slow down. You become the calm presence in every interaction, anticipating moves before they happen. While others believe they are acting freely, you are quietly guiding outcomes through understanding. Law 4, Sovereign Psychology. Most people do not truly control their own minds. They are governed by praise and shaken by criticism. Their emotions rise and fall with approval, rejection, success, or failure. Because their inner state depends on external forces, they are easily influenced, provoked, and destabilized. Dangerous intelligence begins when the mind answers to itself. Sovereign psychology is the discipline of ruling your inner world instead of letting it be ruled. It is an internal authority built on reason, self-command, and emotional restraint. A sovereign mind takes full responsibility for its thoughts, feelings, and actions. External events may trigger emotion, but they do not dictate judgment. Praise is received as information, not fuel. Criticism is examined without becoming identity. Nothing outside you is allowed to define your worth or direction. This does not mean suppressing emotion. It means observing it without surrender. Anger becomes data. Fear becomes a signal. Desire becomes direction, not impulse. While others confuse reaction with action, you separate the two. You feel without being controlled by feeling. Machiavelli understood this clearly. Those who cannot command themselves will always be commanded by others. A person who governs their inner world becomes extremely difficult to manipulate. Attempts to guilt, intimidate, or provoke simply lose power because there is nothing exposed to grab. A sovereign individual functions like a fortress. The structure can be seen, but access is controlled. No external voice determines internal movement. Pressure remains outside. Decisions are made from clarity, not urgency. Building this mindset requires brutal honesty. You must identify where you seek validation, where insecurity influences behavior, and where fear delays action. Every time you act to gain approval, you surrender authority. Every time you choose principle over comfort, sovereignty strengthens. This psychology also creates resilience. Failure becomes feedback instead of identity. Setbacks become adjustments, not verdicts. Opposition becomes a problem to analyze, not a threat to internal stability. Your mind stops being a battlefield and becomes a command center. Anchor this law with this affirmation in the comments. I am my own ruler. When your psychology is sovereign, you move through chaos without absorbing it. You become calm under pressure, decisive under uncertainty, and grounded regardless of circumstance. This internal independence is dangerous, not because it dominates others, but because it cannot be dominated. Law 5, Action is the argument. Most people live in explanation. They talk about plans, intentions, and ideas. They defend opinions, justify delays, and debate possibilities. But words are weak. They can be questioned, dismissed, or forgotten. Action cannot. Results speak in a language that requires no explanation. Dangerous intelligence understands that execution is proof. What you do becomes your reputation. What you complete becomes your credibility. In a world obsessed with appearance, results cut through noise with undeniable force. This law demands a shift from discussion to movement. Stop announcing what you will do. Start doing it. Every idea has only two real outcomes: executed or unrealized. Talking without producing converts nothing. Action turns potential into reality. Completed work becomes an argument no one can refute. Problems solved, outcomes achieved, progress made, these establish authority without persuasion. Competence is demonstrated, not declared. Influence grows from output, not promises. Machiavelli observed that people judge by what they can see. They may hear words, but they trust visible results. Your intelligence is measured not by theories, but by what exists because you acted. Execution simplifies life. When you act, endless debate loses relevance. This principle eliminates wasted energy. You stop defending ideas and start building momentum. While others analyze, argue, or hesitate, you move forward. Progress itself creates distance. Critics fall behind simply because they are standing still. Action also brings clarity. Words can mislead. Intentions can confuse. But action reveals truth. When you move, you either succeed or fail, and both outcomes provide information. Failure exposes weakness. Success creates leverage. Neither is wasted. This law forces ownership. Results are the only thing fully under your control. Opinions fluctuate. Judgment shifts. But execution belongs to you alone. Focusing on action also exposes false productivity. Meetings, plans, and activity feel like progress, but only outcomes matter. Ruthless intelligence separates motion from impact. Time and effort only count when they create results. Everything else is noise. When action becomes your argument, confidence grows naturally. You no longer need to prove yourself verbally. Reality does it for you. End this law with this affirmation in the comments. I let results speak. When your life is built on execution, your presence carries weight. Your reputation is earned through outcomes. Your intelligence becomes visible through what exists because you acted. Law 6, the calculated end. Most people cling. They hold onto relationships, habits, projects, and identities long after they stop serving them. Not because those things are useful, but because letting go feels uncomfortable. Attachment blinds judgment, and sentiment quietly drains progress. Dangerous intelligence understands a hard truth: knowing when to end something is as important as knowing when to begin. The calculated end is the ability to close chapters decisively, without guilt, nostalgia, or hesitation. Every commitment has a lifespan. Not every beginning deserves a prolonged middle. Ruthlessly intelligent individuals evaluate situations with cold clarity. They ask difficult questions others avoid. Is this moving me forward or consuming my resources? Is this aligned with my objectives or quietly pulling me backward? Is this investment still producing returns, or am I protecting sunk costs out of emotion? Ending something does not mean failure. It means control. Refusing to end what no longer works guarantees greater loss, wasted time, energy, and opportunity. Intelligence cuts losses early. Emotion waits until damage is irreversible. This law applies to everything. Relationships that erode focus. Projects that drain momentum. Habits that once helped but now limit growth. Even identities that no longer fit the person you are becoming. Ruthless intelligence allows evolution without apology. Machiavelli understood adaptation. Those who succeed change with circumstances. To cling to outdated patterns is to invite decline. The calculated end is not chaos. It is discipline applied to timing. There is always a moment when continuation becomes weakness. Ending too early sacrifices potential. Ending too late destroys efficiency. The intelligent develop awareness to recognize that moment and act without hesitation. Once the decision is made, they do not waver. Doubt reopens doors that should stay closed. This law also protects energy. Ending frees mental space. It restores focus. It sharpens direction. What remains becomes stronger because it is no longer burdened by what should have been released. Seal this law with this affirmation in the comments. I end what blocks me. When you master the calculated end, your life stops stagnating. You are no longer ruled by past decisions. You move forward aligned with reality, not attachment. This ability makes you dangerous, because nothing unnecessary is allowed to slow you down. Law 7, Unshakable Focus. Intelligence means nothing when it is scattered. A sharp mind divided across too many targets produces weak results. The modern world is designed to fracture attention. Opinions, opportunities, distractions, and obligations constantly compete for mental space. Most people drift from one stimulus to the next, never building depth, never creating momentum. Dangerous intelligence rejects this fragmentation. It demands concentration on what matters most. One objective that defines direction. One outcome that, if achieved, makes everything else easier or irrelevant. Unshakable focus begins with clarity. You must identify your primary aim. Not what is convenient. Not what looks impressive. What actually moves your life forward. Once chosen, everything else is filtered through it. Every commitment is measured. Every distraction is questioned. This law requires discipline. Focus means saying no to attractive opportunities, social pressure, minor urgencies, and emotional noise. It means ignoring praise and criticism alike when they pull you off course. The focused individual understands that attention is currency, and where it flows determines results. When your attention is fixed, manipulation loses power. Drama cannot distract you. Gossip has no grip. Temptation loses its pull. Your mind becomes stable and deliberate. Every action becomes intentional. Every move compounds. Unshakable focus creates speed and authority. While others hesitate, multitask, and dilute effort, you move directly. Depth replaces chaos. Momentum builds quietly. What looks effortless to others is the result of relentless concentration. Machiavelli understood the power of concentration. Those who adapt and focus outperform those who scatter themselves. A focused mind moves unseen, undisturbed, and unstoppable toward its objective. This law also demands patience. Focused intelligence does not rush. It compounds. Small, consistent actions executed with precision accumulate into overwhelming advantage. Distraction weakens others. It strengthens you. Anchor this law with this affirmation in the comments. I focus and conquer. When unshakable focus governs your life, your intelligence becomes lethal in its precision. Your energy is protected. Your decisions are clean. Your trajectory becomes difficult to interrupt. This is how scattered minds fall behind, and how controlled minds dominate quietly. These 7 laws are not habits or temporary tactics. They are a framework. An operating system for a mind that is controlled, deliberate, and difficult to influence. Once installed, they change how you see people, pressure, and power. Every interaction becomes clearer. Every decision becomes cleaner. Strategic restraint. Controlled perception. Pragmatic empathy. Sovereign psychology. Action as proof. The calculated end. Unshakable focus. Each law strengthens the others. Together, they create intelligence that cannot be rushed, guilt, distracted, or cornered. Do not attempt to apply all of them at once. That leads to frustration. Instead, identify the law that directly confronts the weakness you feel most in your life right now. Commit to it fully. Practice it for 30 days. Observe how people respond differently to you. Notice how your clarity sharpens and your decisions improve. As one law becomes instinct, the others activate naturally. Momentum builds. Confidence stops needing validation. Your intelligence becomes visible not through words, but through outcomes and presence. People feel it before they understand it. This is not about becoming cruel or manipulative. It is about becoming internally grounded. When your mind is disciplined, outside forces lose leverage. Fear, approval, conflict, and distraction stop controlling you. You move from reaction to intention. The world will always test you. With pressure. With noise. With temptation. The emotionally reactive collapse under it. The strategically intelligent move through it untouched. They are not louder. They are not aggressive. They are anchored. From this moment forward, every choice is a declaration. You will no longer overexpose yourself. You will no longer explain to be accepted. You will no longer chase validation or tolerate distraction. You will act. You will calculate. You will end what no longer serves you and double down on what matters. Build your life on these laws and your mind becomes a fortress. Your actions become precise. Your results become inevitable. The chaos around you loses its power because you no longer handed control. End with this affirmation in the comments. I am strategically unstoppable.